sweeping you away into a world of wonder, amazement, astonishment, and all other synonym adjectives that somehow mean the same thing as wow, because it's Joel.LIVE. I'm here. Hey, how's it going? It's good to see you, and hopefully you can see me watching over on the Facebooks. And I've got a killer show for you today. Not to say that I have a killer on the show, but that rather the content of the show will be killer. I hope that was clear when I said it, but there are those who misunderstand me from time to time, and so I feel it appropriate to make it clear. All right, let's get this party started. My guest today is the Director of Marketing Technology, MarTech, for those in the know, at Aventure. The guy's been involved in sales and marketing and all this stuff that we do for pretty much a lifetime. He's a speaker, he's an author, he's a podcaster, he's a journalist, he's a good guy, and he's across the pond, so he has this funny accent, and I want to welcome him to Joel.LIVE right now. Hello, Mr. Stewart Rogers.
Hey, how are we doing?
With an introduction like that, who needs friends?
Exactly. I mean, actually, I'm representing today. I'm wearing the Goonies t-shirt.
Oh, Goonies for the win.
Yeah, what that means is that you actually get to watch a decent movie for once in your life if you go and watch that. So
the Goonies is absolutely classic.
It is. I mean, everybody should see it. If you haven't seen the Goonies, go watch it, but not right now. Right now, just watch us.
Yeah, not now. I mean, you can kind of watch it as you're watching us, but that would be maybe we become the Goonies.
Goonies, we're your sort of starter, and the Goonies can be your entree.
There you go. What would be dessert?
Ooh, now that's a good one. Maybe rewatch Blade Runner before the new film comes out.
Blade Runner. Why reboot Blade Runner? Why?
Well, look, I'm not going to pass judgment until I've seen it.
I'm going to pass judgment right now. I'm just saying why.
Yeah, I know, because you do that. You do that.
I do. My nickname is Judgy McJudgy Pants. Anyway, you guys are in for a treat today. Stewart is a really interesting fellow. He's got a lot of insights, and working at VentureBeat.com. He is part of one of the web's Technorati, right? Because VentureBeat.com is one of the oldest tech and venture VC blogging sites, right there with Mashable and TechCrunch. Oh, did I just say the other words?
Oh, they're fine. We're all friends in this business,
Mashable. Yeah, we're all friends. Hey, guys, as you're coming in here, and now you know what we're going to be talking about today, which is good because I don't even know. Please share the broadcast and let others know that you're here. Stewart, how long have you been over at VentureBeat?
Well, I have been here for 4 years now, can you believe? I think in Silicon Valley terms, that makes me a veteran.
Yeah, that makes you're past the initiation rites. They let you write whatever you want, pretty much. They trust you.
Yeah, it's, I try to keep like quite a narrow focus. So when I started out 4 years ago, I was very much looking at what friends like Scott Brinker were doing, right? Scott's done an amazing job of looking at the entire marketing technology universe. And in fact, last month, or maybe even this month, because I'm working so hard, I don't even know what day it is. But recently he's put out the Marketing Technology 5000, which is the 5,000 companies that matter in marketing technology. And, Scott and I and a few others, we've all had this conversation over the years. When you're tracking that many companies, you can go broad, but you can't go deep. And that's what I found for the first year and a half, I guess, of doing this job, of reporting on marketing technology and analyzing marketing technology. I was writing the State of Marketing Technology Studies, and that was a multi-part series. And it was really hard to go deep. And then I realized that, it all kind of comes down to the fact that what we're trying to do these days is reach people on one of these devices, a smartphone. Mm-hmm. The smartphone is the device that is always within 3 feet of us, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm not just making a glib statement there. I've actually done the research on that. And it turns out that 86% of people agree that it's within arm's reach 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The average adult now starts checking social media within 22 seconds of waking up. So now I've been able to go deeper on marketing technology because I've basically narrowed my focus down to the marketing technologies that help us to sell and market products and services to people who use a smartphone. And that's much more important.
I just got back from MarTech. Now, I don't believe you made it to the MarTech event this year, but I did.
No, I was flouncing around Europe at the same time as everybody was in San Francisco. But Travis was there, my
Yes,
co-host on the VB Engage podcast. So yeah.
We did run into each other there, and he was pretty much stuck in a room emceeing and hosting the event. But I'm sorry that we didn't get the chance to meet. But this is why I call live video the most social form of social media that we have, because this face-to-face conversation and dialogue that we have, not just with each other, but with our audience. You know, Rob is conversing with us. They're talking in the room, and he's noted that our glasses are quite similar.
They are quite similar, but you'll notice that all of my gadgets have got a hint of red, black, and white somewhere. And if I take off my glasses, you'll actually be able to see that they're...
Well, that's not a hint. That is that is a splash of red.
So they're red and white on the inside and black on the outside. You know, the same goes for everything I basically own. It's all red, black, and white. If I can't buy a gadget in red, then I don't buy it.
All right. Is that a VentureBeat thing, or is that just red is your color?
If you'd had asked me when I was growing up what my color was, I would have told you it was blue. But I've been following Ferrari Formula One since I was a very young kid. I got into following Manchester United, who won the Europa Cup yesterday. At
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That's a very good thing. Yeah, we won the final. And I started following the Detroit Red Wings very, very long time ago. And somebody pointed out to me that all of those teams are red with black and white as their accents. So I just started going for red, black, and white. And then I ended up at VentureBeat, and it turns out it's the corporate colors.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Well, it ended up good. So this whole marketing tech thing, you know, so I went to MarTech, and I've got to confess, I felt like a fish out of water. I truly felt like the dumbest person in the room. I may have actually been, had there been a measurement device that would have indicated where we ranked. Because MarTech, the stuff that makes marketing run, actually is some pointy head stuff, right?
Right, and that's essentially the problem with marketing technology right now.
Can you define marketing technology for our viewers that might not be familiar with the term?
Absolutely. Yeah. Marketing technology is, in reality, the products and services that allow us to sell our own products and services to the masses. So most people's first foray into marketing technology is something like a MailChimp account or a Hootsuite account.
Aweber.
It's Aweber, Mad Mimi, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, basically you have this broad universe of 5,000 products that are all trying to help us to, you know, sell and market our own products and services. So whether it be an email solution, marketing automation system, whether it be mobile analytics so that you can measure what's going on, you know, whatever it might be, if there's a product or service that's out there that's trying to help you to sell or market your products and services, that's marketing technology.
And then there's this other term that they use, which I heard again and again on the show floor and from presentations, a marketing stack. Is that like when you take a bunch of marketers and lay them down on top of each other? How high can you pile them?
I would love it to be that.
It's not, though.
I would love it to be that. We could have different shapes of stack. We could make, you know, marketing pyramids.
Right.
We could call that multi-level marketers.
You didn't just go there.
It's a pyramid selling joke, everybody. You know, marketing stack is where we take multiple marketing technologies and put them together to create an entire system that allows us to sell and market our products and services. So, you know, you might have a stack, for example, that's very Salesforce centric. If you've decided that Salesforce is your CRM product of choice, you might attach to Salesforce the Pardot marketing automation system, which is the one that's owned by Salesforce. It's the natural solution to connect to Salesforce. You've just started a marketing stack, Salesforce and Pardot together. What else can you add on there that will do all of the other jobs that you need to do? And what you end up with is a stack of products. It's, you know, stack is used in lots of different places. You know, the other place you might have heard of a stack is in the fitness industry. You know, people who are trying to build muscle or lose fat or whatever will use a stack of different supplements and pills, right, and vitamins to help them. It's basically just a term that says, you know, here are all of the solutions I'm going to connect together at the same time to achieve my needs.
So loosely translated, this is the software I bought.
It's pretty much it.
This,
you know,
this is the stuff I own.
The conceptual difference between a whole load of disparate software products and a stack is that they're integrated with each other and they talk to each other in some way.
You know, I have a stack of software I'm not using, actually, right? Because we tend to subscribe and buy services that we don't need. So, for example, BLive.tv would be part of my live video marketing stack.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely right.
Facebook is part. Facebook Live is part of the stack. If I'm using ManyChat as a messenger bot, that's part of the stack. If I'm sending people to my Aweber account to opt in, and I'm using Buffer to post on social, I've actually got a stack.
Yeah, you've created an interlinked set of products that are helping you to achieve what you need.
I just see pancakes, you know, and I'm like, bring this in butter, and I want to cut into my tasty marketing stack. Well, you know, the reason
if you want to continue the food analogy, the yes. problem with a lot of the marketing technologies is that they are connected together like spaghetti. Right? You've got all these different APIs. People are writing all this different code. Some of them don't need APIs because they automatically talk to each other. You know, and you're connecting all these different solutions, but you end up with this massive spaghetti. Now, the real magic happens when you can lay out your software like lasagna instead. In
a stack. I see right? Where you're going now. That makes a lot of sense.
You might have all your data, all your customer data, a single view of that data in a database, and that's really important to have really good, accurate, clean data all in one cloud or one database, wherever you want to hold it. That's your sort of bottom layer of the lasagna. And then you might have above that a communication layer, which allows all of the other products to talk to that database, right? And, you know, laying out your products like a lasagna than spaghetti will actually help you. It will help you reduce your costs. It'll help you to maintain everything in a much easier way. You know, it's a much better way to think about software solutions is how can you lay them out so that they are just working directly with each other in a more of a layered way, rather than this complete mass of spaghetti solutions, which everyone seems to have these days.
Well, you know, I believe in making things easy and simple and understandable for our viewers, and you've done that well. Guys, you're on Joel.LIVE here on BLive.tv. We're here every Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon on the left coast. My guest today, Stewart Rogers, the marketing tech director at VentureBeat. And if you want to join the conversation, if you have questions, and you're going to want to come to the page where this broadcast is actually coming from. If you comment on where somebody has shared this video, then I won't see your comments. That'd be really cool if Facebook fixes their stack up so that anywhere somebody comments on a shared video that's being watched collectively, that I could see them. But if you want to comment here, if you have questions for Stewart about anything MarTech or VentureBeat or journalism or just any geeky nerdiness at all, then you need to go over to fb.com/BLiveTV app. That's so you can see it right there on the screen. Go over there, and then you could type in comment. And when you do that, I could do some really cool, nifty stuff, like put up Didar's hello from Pakistan. That's a comment. For those of you that are new to BeLive, that's a comment he made on Facebook, but I'm able to click and show it to you in this cool stylistic way that that you can't do otherwise. So it's one of the reasons that I really like BeLive. This is your first time on BeLive TV broadcast, right, Stewart?
You know, I've seen it around a lot.
Yeah.
It's made its way into my general psyche, but I'm popping my BeLive cherry with you, Joel.
Like that.
Just like that. And hi, Dida. It's great to see you.
Can you, are you any good at imitating the sounds that come from your phone? For example, I'll issue the challenge. I'll throw down the gauntlet. Okay. This is the Twitter. This is my favorite, the Twitter refresh sound. I have to go all the way to the top of the feed though. Hear that? The pop? Yeah. Everybody at home, try it, okay? If you need help, go to Twitter, pull down, refresh, and then it's just a little, that's pretty good. and
you see, I don't get a lot of practice in mimicking my smartphone sounds, and I'll tell you why. Because this funky little smartphone here is always on complete silent, not even vibrate mode.
Really?
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I get all my notifications through my wrist.
Is that an Apple Watch?
It is certainly not an Apple Watch.
You were almost insulted when I said that. What is it?
This one's an Asus ZenWatch 2, I believe. I'm probably going to shift it up for a Huawei Watch 2 very soon. But yeah, I'm Android through and through, so I like to pair my Android with my Android.
What's your favorite thing about having a watch now? Because I'm I'm a nerd and I buy all the cool latest new stuff, and I just had absolutely no interest in owning an Apple Watch to go with my other Apple devices. I thought, I don't need something else to keep up with. I can take the second to pull the phone out of my pocket. So what compelled you to begin wearing a smartwatch?
Well, I am possibly the oldest living smartwatch user. So I'm 147 years old this year. You should know that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do a lot of things to become culturally acceptable in the 21st century, like file down my pointy teeth, and I have to wear 1,000-factor sunblock in order to go out. But
understood. Sure, that makes sense.
You know, I started wearing smartwatches back in 1984. My first smartwatch came with a keyboard, and you could lay it into a recess on the keyboard, and it allowed you to type in 3 memos of 1,000 characters each into the watch that you could take with you. I've owned virtually every Bluetooth connected watch since they became available. One of my first ones was actually powered by Palm OS, for people who remember Palm OS.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with these Sony Ericsson Bluetooth watches. They had a really dodgy display on them that lasted only a year because Sony used a pretty cheap OLED display. I ended up actually buying 4 watches and just unboxing one each year so that I could use it for 4 years. Now, the reason I like smartwatches is because it means I can leave this permanently on silent, and then all of my text messages, notifications, everything come through on the watch. Now, what's kind of nice about that is if I'm in a meeting, I'm not disturbing the rest of the people in the meeting. There's a lot of people who stare at their phones during meetings, and I find, as a more old-fashioned chap, I find that to be slightly abhorrent. Although, you know, if I look at my watch briefly, just to see if there's something really important happening on it, what's kind of interesting about that psychologically is that everybody sees me glance at my watch, and instead of waffling about nothing, they start getting to the point of the meeting, and the meetings actually move forward quicker, and we get to the point quicker. So there's a nice psychological trick there. The other thing is I just like the idea of the second screen where I don't need to.
Yeah.
For example, Starbucks. I love Starbucks, Joel. You know, I'm not going to make any excuses about it. I love Starbucks.
None needed.
The phone stays in my pocket because, you know, instead of taking out my phone, unlocking the phone, going into the shopping group, clicking Starbucks, waiting for it to load, clicking pay again, and then the barcode eventually shows up, and then I can scan it. With the smartwatch, I'm 2 clicks away from having the Starbucks code on my watch, and I just scan it, and I go pick up my double espresso, and I'm away. And it's a lot quicker and easier. It's much more convenient. It's the same with checking in on Foursquare. Yes, I still do that on Swarm.
Is that still a thing?
Still a thing. I think it's, is it 50 million people a month still do that? I'm one of them. You know, it's much easier to do that. It's much easier to you know, do basic sort of second screen stuff on a smartwatch. And of course, with Android, I can do cool things like tell it to start a timer for 6 minutes or remind me to take my tablets in 4 hours. And it just uses Google Assistant. I don't need to take my smartphone out to do it. So, you know, I think it's great. And on Android Wear as well, what I like particularly about it is I can store my favorite music offline, actually in the memory of the watch, and pair that with my Bluetooth headphones. And then when I'm on a flight and all that kind of stuff, I'm just using my watch to play my music in my headphones, which is cool.
You are probably the most prolific watch wearer that I know then, because for you to not have it on, you would feel like you were missing something because you've worn them for so long.
Exactly. And I feel like, you know, those value propositions for the watch, those are the things that the CEO of Huawei should be saying, instead of standing up in front of an audience and saying, I don't know why people buy smartwatches when they actually make them. You know, that's kind of a faux pas.
Let's, okay, so you've never been an Apple person then, right? You've always been a PC and a Droid?
Yeah, PC and Droid. You know, prior to that, I was that person that had Palm OS. I had every flavor of it. Some of my favorite devices were the Sony Clie. You know, I was Amiga and not Atari ST.
Right.
I'm Sony PlayStation, not Xbox.
Okay, yeah. Let's have this discussion then, because I find this fascinating. I had my first computer in 1980. It was a TRS-80. I've had 286s, 386s, Pentiums. Yes.
I learnt how to program on a TRS-80 Model 3.
Line 10, print hello. Line 20, go to 10. That was the extent of my basic knowledge. And I have an iPhone. This is a 6, and actually a new one, because they replaced, with enough begging, after 2 years of having my 6 that just went, they replaced it for free. If you ask and you're persistent, it's amazing what you can get. But I've had just about every iPhone, some by choice, some because I've stepped on another and had to, you know, upgrade to the next one. I've had probably 3 or 4 iPads. Right now I've got an iPad Air and an iPad Mini. I've got a MacBook right behind me that I use for all my road stuff. But here is what you really need to know. Right now, I am on a PC. I've got a super powerful machine right down here. I'm a long-time gamer. And so I've used PCs since the beginning of time as my main desktop computer. And I can't imagine going to a Mac for that, because it doesn't have the playability. So make the case for me why, when all the rest of my Apple stuff works together, why should I switch from an Apple to an Android?
Sure, I'm not going to say you have to.
Well, no, but give me the reasons. Why would I? What would be the benefit? Sell me.
You know, the reason I like Android personally is because I get to pair it with anything I like, and I don't have to have Apple's approval in order to do that. And I also get to use any accessories I like in order to do that. You know, for me, I think the user interfaces on both Android and iOS are fairly equivalent these days. You know, they might have started out with iOS having the jump, and you know, it certainly was pretty cool to see. I mean, I've obviously used a lot of iOS devices. I've actually owned and still own an iPod Touch. And I've got the latest edition of that.
We won't tell anybody.
Well, you know, I didn't give Apple my money. I bought it secondhand so that I could get through a loophole and not actually, you know, still not give Apple any money. So, you know, right. All right. So that's just to be very clear about that. But I kind of need to have something that I can run iOS apps on, because occasionally people do something really daft and they actually launch on only one of the two platforms. You know, we've done the research at VV Insight, and we can tell you categorically that the most successful app developers launch simultaneously on both platforms. So launching on one might sound like a good idea, but actually it's not. And but occasionally, you know, I get sent apps to try out. They're iOS only. I have to have something to try them out on. The interfaces are great on both. I just like the freedom of being able to pair anything I like with Android. And that's really the reason why, you know, I go with Android rather than iOS.
Fair enough. You know, there's people that are really demonstrably militant about who they're for. It's the whole Coke, Pepsi, boxers versus briefs debate, right? And you know, for me, I'm Mac and PC my whole life. In my basement, I still have the TRS-80 and an Apple IIe and a Mac Classic, and software coming out my ears from years past that from both platforms. So
I've seen your Zork collection.
Yeah, right. You saw the video I had. I've got Zork and all the other original Aventure games. I've actually got a copy of Ultima, the original Apple II game in the box from 1980 with a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk, and a copy of Windows 1.03 in the box.
Yes, Joel.
Floppy disks as well.
Yes.
Now I just need a machine. I know what. We will have an intervention for you, Joel. I understand you have this illness, but you know, when it comes to computers, it's the only time you'll have me say this, but I go both ways. You know, it's I use whichever one is going to serve my needs, and I think the loyalty that people have. Here's the truth. Isn't it the truth, Your Honor? Isn't it the truth that Apple devices are overpriced?
Do you know, I think they are. I think Apple do an amazing job of marketing the Apple products. They generally tend not to have the very latest and greatest tech inside them. You know, Apple have had a history of you know, having the sort of the latest -1 in terms of the hardware inside. You know, I remember when I was rocking an 8 megapixel camera on my Sony Ericsson at the same time as the iPhone had a 1.3 megapixel camera, right? And, you know, everyone that had an iPhone was apparently happy with that. They do an incredible job at marketing, you know, that product. They do an incredible job at really pushing it out the door. You know, I think for me, it just comes down to choice. You know, with Apple, you do just get that one set of devices that Apple have produced. With Android, you know, if I've got a Google Pixel, but I could equally have a Samsung, or I could equally have an LG or an HTC or a Huawei, or you know, OnePlus, or you know, whatever takes my fancy. If I see something that has got a feature on it that I like, you know I can go get that and still have, by and large, the same experience with the operating system that I'm going to have on any of the other devices. Yeah. The only thing that does annoy me a little bit about Android, and this is a down mark for Android in general, is that, you know, I kind of wish that the likes of Samsung and HTC would stop skinning Android with their own stuff and just put vanilla Android on the same way as you get on a Pixel. That's why I use a Pixel. That's why I've had Nexus 4, 5, 5X. It's because you get the very latest version of vanilla Android every single time, and it's by far the best experience. I wish the others would stop putting bloatware on and skinning Android, because it does make it a worse experience every single time in my books.
You know, years ago when I had a large team, large meaning 30 or so people working for me, and one of my developers took a PC and installed Mac OS on it. And essentially the cost of the hardware was significantly less than if we had bought a Mac. That's just
right
how it is. So the phone that blew up last year that they had the recall, that was the S7, right? Samsung.
That was the Note 7.
Note 7.
Yeah,
so
the Samsung Note 7. You have to be very clear about that. I was sat next to somebody on a plane, and they were very nervous because they were looking in their Wi-Fi for the Wi-Fi that belonged to the plane, getting ready to watch movies, and they noticed that somebody had switched on their Wi-Fi tethering, and it said Samsung S7, and they were showing me, they were going, look, somebody's got one of those phones that blows up.
We're gonna die.
And I'm like, no, it's okay. That's an S7. That's not the same as a Note 7. We're all safe. We're all safe.
I had ordered one because as much as I do live video, just like you have an Apple device on hand for testing, I thought, I really should have an Android device. I really should become more familiar because I'm used to tweaking, my settings and setting up my interface the way I want. And I've not used an Android phone. So I was going to get one. I ordered it, and a week later it happened and they recalled them. So before, it ever arrived, I canceled the order, but I am thinking about getting the 8.
Yes.
Is that like, if I'm going to play with an Android device and get the full experience, and if something is going to convert me to become my permanent device, would that be it?
Do you know, I'm a big fan of the Pixel because, I think it's the purest Android experience. The S8 is also a great phone. I've used both. I think they're awesome. If you've got small hands like Donald Trump, you'll want to go for the Pixel or S8. If you've got bigger hands, you'll want to go for the Pixel XL or the S8 Plus. They're all great phones, to be honest. There's so many awesome smartphones out there right now. I guess the thing you need to do is have a look at them and just decide what's the most important thing to you. For me, apart from the fact that the smartphone has to basically just do all of my work and allow me to effectively do everything that I would normally do on a PC in the office when I'm on the road or when I'm on a plane or whatever. I need to be able to do all of that from a smartphone. But the other thing that's most important to me is the quality of the pictures that it takes, because I like to, in my spare time, do a little bit of photography. You can see all of my photos, which are all taken with smartphone and edited on the smartphone on my Instagram account. And people don't believe it. They look at them and they think they're taken with a DSLR. They're not. They're taken with a smartphone and edited on the smartphone. And that's because the Pixel happens to have one of the best cameras available on any smartphone device in the world. It's really quite extraordinarily good.
Do you, is your Instagram the same as your Twitter? Where do you like people to follow you?
Yeah, you'll find me at The Real SJR, TheReal SJR. The Real SJR is my Instagram and my Twitter and my Snapchat. So you'll find me on all 3 of those at The Real SJR. You'll see on Instagram, that's where I put all my creative photography. On Twitter, that's where I share all my sales and marketing and startup content. And on Twitter, I really like to curate other people's content more than I like to talk about myself. I think that's more important on Twitter, is to find other great content and share that with my audience. And on Snapchat, that's all the behind the scenes stuff, what I'm getting up to during the day. Like, for example, I started this entire live stream with a quick still saying that I'm live now with Joel.com and the URL so people can come and watch us. You'll also find I've got a second Twitter account, Joel, which is more to do with jokes and political commentary, and that's the evil Stewart Rogers. You can find him at The Notorious SJR instead of The Real SJR.
That's great. You could spin off a whole line of accounts all based on one person. Are you a multiple? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, I actually have 8 Twitter accounts.
That's fantastic. I can barely keep up with one. You guys follow Stewart Rogers at The Real SJR, or if you want to go to the dark side where they have cookies, The Notorious SJR. J stands for James?
John, actually.
No, close enough. One of those. So you not only are you a Martech director at Aventure Beat, but you are a podcaster and host a show with Travis Wright called VB Engage, which I've had the pleasure of being on. Talk about the show just a little bit.
Sure, yeah, and thank you so much, by the way. You were one of our first guests. It was amazing to have you on as one of our first 6.
And it launched just the same. It's still around, so we didn't crash and burn.
Ice hockey, you were one of the original 6. So that makes you the Detroit Red Wings of VB Engage.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Does that mean that Gary Vaynerchuk is the Toronto Maple Leafs because he was the first episode?
It might mean that.
It might mean that.
Would you like it to mean that?
I don't know. We'll let the viewers decide what Gary Vaynerchuk is. So, I think the key thing was when we started it. Travis came to me and said, we should do a podcast about marketing technology, and we decided that we wanted to just be brutally honest about marketing because marketing is full of a lot of really janky stuff and made up stuff and people who have come out with buzzwords and acronyms and, all of this nonsense. So we just wanted to be brutally honest about it. We wanted to, take the veil off, have some fun, tell some jokes, mostly bad puns because that's what we're good at. And, really just lift that lid on what's going on with marketing and marketing technology. And we also wanted to interview some amazing guests like you, sir. And so what we did is we put those two together. We do a news section for the first 10 to 15 minutes where we talk about the week's news. And it's kind of fun, actually, to go back over some of those and listen to old ones where we've made some bold predictions and then check out what happens a few weeks later where the bold prediction largely becomes true because we've become quite good at that. We're terrible at picking the right stocks to back, but apparently we're pretty good at making marketing predictions.
Well, everybody's talking Bitcoin right now, so Bitcoin.
I'll tell you what, if you're going in at Bitcoin right now at the price it is, you have very big kahunas. I wish you luck with that.
Well, we say that now, but what happens if it actually goes to 40 or 50,000? Then now would seem like a sale.
Now would seem like a great idea. Maybe Ethereum will follow Bitcoin. Maybe Ethereum is the one to get into right now. But we do that news segment, and then we have an interview segment, and we've had some amazing guests on. Sometimes we do the interviews over Skype, and Travis and I are in different countries at different times, and it's kind of fun for us to bounce off of the different guests, and we go to events and we record some. We've even done an episode of VB Engage live on stage at Web Summit in front of 1,500 people, which we did with Alan Scharf, who's the founder of Imager, that very popular website. So we've interviewed Katja Beauchamp, who founded Birchbox, which was the first sort of monthly send stuff in a box to your house subscription service. We've interviewed Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the Hollywood star, who has his own very creative website with 500,000 people on it called Hit Record. We've done Alexis Ohanian. We've had Sarah Austin talking about artificial intelligence. Robert Scoble talking about VR and AR. So many. I mean, we've been doing it for over a year now. We just had episode 53 go out. 54 is next.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And we haven't actually strangled each other yet, which is quite incredible.
It's coming in a future episode. You guys go check it out. Go to iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play. VB Engage is the name of the show. And, I thought of you when you mentioned all the marketing speak that we have. And I found this site yesterday at plainenglish.co.uk. It's called the Gobbledygook Generator. Have you seen it?
That sounds fantastic.
One is generate meaningless, empty phrases that make you look like you know what you're talking about. You click generate some gobbledygook. And for example, our exploratory research points to compatible modular alignment.
You've just described probably 90% of the press releases that I get for pitches every day.
How about this one? We need to cascade memos about our four-dimensional logistical innovation.
Yeah, I've done the exclusive on that product, actually.
And then we have, my organization believes in ambient organizational contingencies. I'll send you the link to this because I think you guys will have fun with it on the show because this is part of what you do is destroy the silliness that takes place there. I just dropped the link in Facebook for you. And for those of you watching, I'm going to put the link here as well to the gobbledygook generator. It's right there now on the page where the broadcast is, so you can go check that out and make people think that you're really smart. Stewart, before we close out today, I want to hear your prognostications. I know you said you discuss this a lot on the podcast. Things that are coming in the near future, maybe a year out or so, maybe more. What's one thing in particular that really stands out as this is coming and you better get ready?
Do you know, the thing that I've been writing about the most on VentureBeat this year, the thing that we've been talking about the most on VB Engage this year, is how artificial intelligence is making its way into marketing technology right now, and what that might mean for the future for marketers. Now, a few years ago, you might remember our good friends at Gartner,
research,
the research company. I say our good friends, obviously, we do our research at VB Insight. So it's a little bit like Mashable TechCrunch, we're all good friends. So, they came out with a prediction that the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, would control more IT budget than the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, by 2017. In other words, what they were basically saying was that all of the technology of any worth was going to be marketing technology, and it would fall under the marketer's remit, not under the CIO or CTO or the IT manager or director. Now, that has largely become true. The thing is nobody actually said, should the CMO have that much technology budget? It turns out that marketers are really creative, dynamic people. They like to come up with really innovative solutions and campaigns to help push the brand, to help get people to come and buy those products and services from them. That is diametrically opposed to the process-driven brain of the IT person. That is, a completely different skill set. So actually giving CMO the keys to the technology door is not necessarily the right answer. It turns out that, actually it's the old sales and marketing divide that we used to have has turned into a marketing engineering divide, because those two are not getting on with each other.
Nerdy, geeky stuff.
Artificial intelligence is starting to run the software for us. Mm-hmm. And if it's starting to run the software for us, then marketers can surely start to get back to being creative and dynamic and doing the things that their brains are better designed for. In fact, AI is not only starting to run the marketing technology better and faster than humans can do so, it's also running millions of questions behind the scenes on all of the transactional data that's being produced from this. And it's surfacing significant answers, and in writing in plain English what those mean. It's even building PowerPoint slides so that you can show them to the board for you, that tell you what your campaigns are actually doing for you and suggest how you can make them better. And so now we don't even have to worry about the bottom line and proving that our campaign I surface the best answers and the best suggestions going forward. And that is going to help marketers to actually get back to what they do best, which is being creative and dynamic. And that's an interesting future. And you'll see that start to come to fruition in the next year.
The tools change, but how we operate in terms of being creative, it doesn't matter what the tools are. We still have to be creative. We still have to come up with campaigns that are going to engage people.
Absolutely right. But we want to be able to do that in a frictionless environment where we're not having to worry about how we roll out a marketing technology stack, bringing us back to where we started.
We're back to the stack, Jack.
Exactly.
This has been enjoyable. Not that I said that like I'm surprised. Like, who knew I'd have fun speaking with you? But I know I would, because I have before, and I will again. Ladies and gentlemen, Stewart Rogers of VentureBeat.com. You go read his stuff over there on VentureBeat. He's always publishing. You can follow him on the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Snapchats and the other places. He is at The Real SJR, and he'll always have good stuff to say. So, Stewart, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Joel. It's been an absolute pleasure.